Hello. I figured it's time to go over my deck list a second time. I think it's been a little over a month off the top of my head. I've made a few changes. It's not changed that much, but a lot of reps with it have kind of made me decide on a couple of tweaks. And I've been asked a lot of questions, which has given me a bit more to maybe talk about since last time. So, sort of starting point to cover, it's on 26 reds, 13 yellows, 25 blues. That is more yellow than is standard by a count of 4 or 7, generally speaking, depending on what people are running. That is because I am running 3 yellow fruits of the forest and 3 mind warps and a yellow root-bound carapace, which are cards you will not see in every build. I am not saying this is the right way of doing this deck, but it is the way that is working for me. I have long advocated when playing CCGs that if tweaking a deck makes it suit you more, that might be the optimal choice over what you would think would be the optimal choice. You know, if you like playing a control deck but you tend to lose really drawn out games, and putting something a little more aggressive to it, that may make it suit your playstyle better and make you better with the deck, if that makes sense. It also means that people can't necessarily predict exactly what you're going to do. So Yellow Fruits of the Forest performs a couple of roles here. So it started off as Red Fruits of the Forest, just for clarity. I moved it to yellow because having 2 resources rather than 1 seemed impactful, and it has made the difference in several games. It's still a 6 damage card, which means that it still breaks the occasional illusionist thing. It's not the biggest deal because you're probably going to lose to the illusionists, but it is a consideration. You know, it gives you an extra popper. That is handy. I don't think dropping from 7 damage to 6 damage matters at all. I rarely throw them, and when I do, I don't care if someone full blocks this at 6. It bleeding 1 damage through is irrelevant, and it's often not gonna because they've probably got Sink Belows kicking around that they've not used. So I think yellow is objectively better than red in this build. As for why it's there, it's basically because I play... it's not trying to full combo people, but it is always looking for it, and is probably how it finishes. Having access to an extra source of life gain, so that you're not reliant on saving sigils or saving blue fruits and finding them in a second cycle, I think is really important. When you've got 9 sources to pick from, plus possibly the ability to dig one out with a plume, if you really need to set up the combo that way, really, really helps in my opinion, because the extra 2 healing on a combo turn is quite important. You know, cracking 2 pots is 4, which will get you about 10 amp. You will jump to 14 amp if you have a life gain source in your hand, or 16 if it's a sigil. There's a ballpark, you know, numbers vary. And you don't want to use... I say you don't want to use Heartbeat. Heartbeat is harder to use on the combo turn because you have to pay for it. And because it's blue, you are often wanting to use it for its resources if you have it on the combo turn. So that's my explanation of the yellow fruits, which I think merits some discussion, because this is the biggest outlier in the deck, I think, in that I don't think I've seen anybody else running them. But I do rate them. I think they really help. They're also Earth. That's the other kind of big part of this, I think. They will get cut down the line if we get another wave of Earth cards and we get other good options. There is the vaguest chance I will consider swapping them for Command and Conquers. I am hoping to purchase a set with the new expansion coming out and their reprint. Hopefully they will drop into a price range where I do not feel violated by the expenditure. And I've not decided where I'm going to squeeze them in yet. I do think they fit the mid-range build very well. It's going to be... I'm looking at Fruits, I'm looking at Internal Inferno, which is another of my outlier cards. I'm possibly wondering if I can cut back on the Earth's Embracers. Again, these are actually the worst cards in the deck, and they are all the things that I think, almost uniquely running from the people I've talked to. There is this problem of Flesh and Blood has basic lands, and by what that I mean Channel and Decompose require Earth, which means you have to have Earth cards in the deck whether you want to or not. You know, if you said to me there's no more requirement for Earth, the first thing that goes is, you know, the Summer's Falls get cut because they only block 2 and they could be blocking 3. The Earth's Embracers would go because they wouldn't be as relevant anymore. And as I say, Summer's Falls is actually quite good, but my opinion is we just lose the Illusionist match, so I don't really care about Summer's Fall. I do run a little bit of Illusionist thing just in case I can squeeze the game out, but it's a bad matchup for Verdance. So moving through other things I am running that are weird and not great. We start from the top. Eternal Inferno. It is a 1/4. It is not played with the intent of surging it. It is played because it might happen. I have played about 100 games on this build now, and it has happened once, which is what I mean by it might happen. Basically, you have 3 choices of 1/4s in red left to you once you've put the good one in your deck. One of them is the on Surge Go Again. I do not remember their names, by the way, because they are not relevant to know their names. In fact, they're probably... are they down at the bottom? I have a collection of random other stuff I sometimes... No, I've not even put them in the maybe pile. So one of them has Go Again on Surge. The reason that one is bad is very, very simple. Your opponent controls when you get to Surge, which means if you keep a 4-card hand, they AB1 and you have a dead hand. If you don't have a hand, they don't care that it has an ability, so it doesn't have an ability. So I don't like it for that reason. The AMP1 card is perfectly reasonable. If you don't want to buy Eternal Inferno, I would say go for that one. The reason I don't like it is AMP1 is not worth holding the card. You would block with it instead. So I don't believe that I will ever really use the AMP1 on it. Which leads you to Eternal Inferno. There is a situation, very occasionally, currently statistically about 1 in 100 games, where you go for the kill. It might well be off a combo, maybe it's not, maybe you've just chipped them low enough. But you throw an Eternal Inferno, you're doing it for, 5+ damage, it hits, they are on 4 life, they have no arcane barrier left, and you can crack boots and throw it again. It's niche. You should not be attempting to win the game via that method, but sometimes you will win the game via that method. And that's why my choice of extra arcane damage comes from that. I'm only running 2. Again, like they might get squeezed out. The only reason they're even being run at all is I just felt like I needed slightly more oomph. The deck felt a little bit blue heavy. It's quite blue heavy. And I was finding I often into slightly higher arcane barrier matchups did not feel like I was quite landing enough hits. So that's why they were chosen. Because we've already got the pulsing ethers in. Obviously, these are just strictly better. And there are no other choices. So, on the basis of this was the best choice left, they went in. And you're going to hear this a couple of times now. So, we'll very quickly cover this. This is a single copy of yellow root-bound carapace. It again falls under the it's not really good because, it's a 2-block, but it's Earth. It produces 2, both decent in its favour. I almost considered running a blue one, but that really does block poorly. The entire reason it is in here is when you run 3 of them, you've got a 3 in 60 something chance of drawing it. If we call it 1 in 21 thereabouts. When you add a 4th one, you bring yourself to, I can't remember off the top of my head, 1 in 16-ish, something like that. You gain a 33% extra chance of drawing a root bound. And in my opinion, that is important because you have felling, you have plough, and you never, ever, if you can help it, want to play one before you have banished 4 Earth cards. You've also got your bark skin that wants 4, and Verdance doesn't count. Verdance requires 8, and Verdance is not something you strive to get, in my opinion. It will happen. If the game goes long, it will happen, and you'll have an extra ability, but Verdance basically has a blank text box, in my opinion. But that's basically the entire point of this one yellow root bound. I would not want to place that. You'll draw too many. It'll feel awful. But there is that thing where you will, you'll find a felling quite early or a plough. You will arsenal it probably because you've got nothing to do with it, and you will hopefully find a root bound quite quickly, and with an extra 33% chance of drawing one across the deck, you'll hopefully hit it just that much sooner, which means you can get on with hitting them for 8 and taking cards off them. It's not bad. The card itself is bad. What it accomplishes for you is decent. I think that covers all the non-standard cards apart from Earth's Embrace. So I was running Tome. Tome wasn't good. Earth's Embrace isn't good. Don't get me wrong on this. It is a weird card. If it costs 0, I think it would have been pretty playable, but they'd probably have said it was too good at 0. What's weird is it's got a potential really high ceiling, and I do wonder if in a year's time we'll have had another Earth card printed and be going, oh no, this is actually quite good. But at the moment, it's not. If you can play it followed by a plough, you get some merit from it. I suspect if you're playing a more Tunic focus build, it's maybe got more merit as well, but again, I don't think I recommend it. In terms of power, what it is it is an action. It is blue. It has Earth written on it. You can play it, so if you get given a big hand for some reason and you have it in your hand, you can just chuck it out because it's got go again, so it's not a problem in that regard. I switched to this from Tome entirely because if you draw it turn 1, it's quite good. Which is, it feels bad to say that's why you're playing something, but it's a basic land that if you draw it on turn 1, you can chuck it in the bin. That's a positive because it builds Decompose, and you start the game with an embodiment, which means you can block harder on turn 1. So it's effectively getting you a couple of points of extra life. That's why I chose it. It's like every now and again, it's like a bad Fruits of the Forest. And again, I'm trying very hard to make sure you understand that I am not asserting that this is a good card. It's got very pretty art. One maybe that's a reason to run it. But it is being run because I need an Earth Blue. If they print us any Earth Blue with block value, it's probably going in instead of this. The alternatives are probably all down here at the bottom. There's various things I've considered. Its real contenders are Sigil. Sigil is a perfectly good competitor for it, to be honest. The only thing I don't like is that you don't get the token for a couple of turns. And the ceiling is lower. Like, if you've got time to play Sigil, I kind of feel like you might have time to play Earth's Embrace. That's kind of the logic on it. You could run Seeds, but I don't like playing around with my arsenal like that, and I certainly don't like 3 copies of Seeds because you tend to get clogged. But Seeds is good. You know, you could run like 1 Seeds and 2 Earth's Embrace or something like that, or 2 of something else. Term of Harvest, again, it's played fine, but I often find that I've got something good being stored in my arsenal, and I don't want to term it, which is why I kind of went off term. Term has been okay. Term has let me play some interesting hands here and there, but it's not good. You know, again, we're falling into the... I can tell you how you know it's not good. It's a term card that they didn't bother to ban. I think that says everything. Your last choice is Sir Tomorrow. So, it's not bad. It's something I have considered. And again, like, maybe if you're doing a 2-of or something, maybe it's a little bit better. Because it does have the ability that you can put Fellings back in your deck. I think it's pretty much Fellings you're going to get back. You could get a Plough. But there's nothing else that costs enough for you to get it back. I mean, there is. You can get your Autumn's Touch back, I guess. But you know what I mean. Like, it's you're gonna get a Felling, right? It's pretty much the thing. So you can play a Felling, you can play a Sir later. It costs you 1, just redraws the card. That part's definitely good. 2 things I don't like about it. One is you've got to find 1 to pay for it, and it's again that thing of when do you have time to do that? And in this deck, infrequently. So sitting there going, I really, really want to liquidate this. You know, you draw a card, you can pitch the card. So you could basically say for 0 you get to play it, but you know, that makes it quite poor. What I really don't like is if you draw it early, you can't play it. It needs a target. So if you have not yet found and played a Plough and you've got Sir Tomorrow's kicking around, you can't get them played. And if your hand dictates that you want to play them rather than pitch them, it becomes awkward. You know, if I get a really early hand and it's got, you know, an Earth's Embrace and a Summer's Fall in it, well, I definitely want to pitch the Summer's Fall, which means I'd like to try and play the Earth's Embrace if possible to get rid of it. And I might not be able to do that if it's, you know, Summer's Fall and Sir Tomorrow. So that's my logic on the blues. You know, your other option, very simply, is just run less Earth. I'm happy with how much Earth I draw. I am going to do some more tweaks to this, and I will do another video at some point discussing how I feel with slightly less, because I'm definitely going to play some games with less and see how I think it goes. But this has landed kind of where I like it to some degree. I like the number of Earth cards, and again, I think I'm running about 6 more than a lot of people's decks because I've got the Fruits and I've got the Earth's Embraces. So yeah, that's the weirdest stuff probably. I think the other thing I would talk about with this deck is it's a very mid-range deck. You know, there's the playstyle I like. I like being able to block, but I like going on the offense. I don't like just defending all day. Like I can't think of anything more boring for me than playing like CYB control deck. I just, you know, it sounds weird. I'm a control player. I've always been a control player. I love Denial, but I do not like sitting doing nothing. I like the interaction, and that's why I get drawn to mid-range. So, you know, to cover the mid-range thing, it's got Fellings, it's got Ploughs, so it's got some good physical damage. I'm hoping it'll have CNC soon, which will be another decent physical damage option. You are just trying to chip some through. It's got the arcane packages you'd expect. You know, there is the Rampant and its combo pieces that go with it. We have the full set of 3 Channel Millennium Trees. I love this card. It's my favourite card, and it's why I'm running the extra Eternal Infernos, because I love throwing big hits off it. Especially into aggro, it is one of the biggest ways you trade out to actually try and win the game, because you can get a channel into play. If they're quite aggressive, it tends to be a thing of you will arsenal the channel while blocking with 3 cards, and then on the next turn you will probably block with 1 card, leak a load of damage, but then start trying to rip tempo back from them by playing a tree, doing a Surgeon into a pulsing Ether, let's say, to start getting 12 odd damage through. You are now hitting at the same rate that a lot of the aggro decks hit at, depending. Obviously, some aggro decks are hitting at a rate of nearly 20, but this applies into other ones. There's often turns where you find space, or that you just bite the bullet and accept you are taking that extra damage. But you are taking an extra 6 if you don't block 2 cards, and you are dealing an extra 6. And that extra 6 isn't just 6 because you always play channel with the ability to keep it 2 turns. So you're getting 12 out of your 6. That's a big deal. 12 damage from 2 cards is a lot, and it's sometimes 18. This is talking about the crashing aggro decks that do not have time to Arcane Barrier you, and if they stop to Arcane Barrier you, great, you are breaking their tempo. The deck also runs the Ether Flare Snapback combo. It doesn't run it with an intent of directly setting this up. You do into some matchups think about how do I get this together, but in a lot of matchups it is just, do I sometimes organically draw them together and get to absolutely blow someone's face off? And the answer can be yes. I have had turns where I've had a Channel Millennium Tree, I've redrawn, and my hand is like 2 blues and Ether Flare a Snapback, and I've just gone yay, because they're about to absolutely eat it to the face. Because what are we on with that? That's going to be it's 4 off the Surgeon into 7 off the Ether Flares for 11. So 21 damage off your hand. Yeah, that's a big turn, and it does win games. It's got, I don't think there's much else to describe here really. It's got all the usual choices apart from maybe the potions are worth talking about. I'm on a healing potion build. This tends to grind people down while occasionally playing out potions. Potions are often used on a 3-block turn, so I'll block out with my entire hand, play a potion. The second set of potions are for into slow setup matchups, so you've got to know which ones to do it, but Jarl's the best example. I board in an extra 3 potions, and we play a game where we sit and go through our deck once, and then I do him 60 damage because I get to play like a 9-card hand or something stupid by proxy of having an extra 6 resources and an extra 6 life gain. Again, sort of the benefits of playing it mid-range. There's the Summer Falls in here in the inventory. They, again, they're in there as a concession to the fact that I should pay attention to Illusionist. I'm really tempted to cut them for something for a different matchup, because they do very little into the Illusionists, and I never know what to do about this, but your win rate into Illusionist is so very low that wasting deck space trying to fix it feels like you are throwing away percentages on many other matchups to gain 1% into Illusionist or something. It's such a trash matchup because we do not have a good solution to ward. And I'd almost be tempted to go for maybe forgetting the name of things. The not for 4 go again if you've got less life. Scar for Scar. You could maybe run Scar for Scar instead. I've not really been devoting brain power to Illusionist because I know it's a lost cause, and my solution to them is that 50% of them will be rotating in the next 2 months, and I don't have to worry about that anymore. Just have to worry about Prism. Equipment's pretty standard, I think. I go Bark Skin, Plume, Stonewall, Storm Rider, Sergeant into every physical matchup. I have Illuvian and Metacarpus fall into Wizards. The Illuvian also tends to come into Viserai because he's quite high pressure, and I find that I often get a good chance to bottle up those extra resources, and they act like a free energy potion, and it's quite a big tipping point to being able to combo him earlier. So I tend to run Illuvian into this instead of Barkskin. Into every other Runeblade I run Metacarpus. If I care about Arcane Barrier. If you actually don't care about Arcane Barrier because you don't think you're going to be using it much, you can just Stonewall. I've played a number of matchups into Aurora where I think Stonewall's actually a better choice than Metacarpus is. You don't really need the AB1, and if she starts doing stupid go again combo, she's actually doing 2 at a time, and your boots will cover it. Metacarpus also goes down into Jarl, just because it's another thing to distract him with. It might possibly kill him, and because you never want to block with Stonewall into Jarl, because you will be throwing a gear slot away that he has to otherwise crack and giving him an opportunity to hand you more frostbites. But I think that kind of really covers the whole thing. I'll do one last sort of scroll through of the list just in case somebody wants to, take a screenshot or something. I don't know. I will post a deck list with this and attempt to not delete it, but things happen. If you have questions, use the comment section or find me on Discord if you prefer to have a Discord conversation. I'm happy to do that. You can find me via the Purple server. I think that is nearly it. So this is the last thing I want to make a quick comment on. Haven't decided if they're going in the deck yet. I think they're very likely to creep into the deck. Between them and the Sink Below variant that you can discard to prevent one of the next 3 attacks, I think we're moving on to a lot of blocking ones, especially because this new meta is going to have several knifey boys, and can't think of a reason not to. I don't know where they're going to fit yet, but I just thought I'd make mention that at this moment in time, I am looking for somewhere to squeeze them in. So, that's where I'm at with the deck at the moment. We're doing well. Got a 75% win rate in real life, with my only losses being to Enigma and New, which is unsurprising losses. So doing well there. Playing at local level, obviously not playing at a high competitive level, bear that in mind. High competitive level, 1, you will meet more good players in one area and you will get filtered into them as you win. 2, you will just see more Enigmas and News because people are playing to win. Talishar win rate is currently at, I believe, 77-78%, which, you decide for yourself if you think Talishar data is relevant or not. I'm not having that argument. So I hope this has been helpful to anyone who's trying to work out anything for Verdance. This is my deck list. This is how I like to play it. I will reiterate, there are some really good other variant lists. If you're looking for something more punchy, kind of aggressive and arcane, look on the Purple Discord server. Find Blazing for Lethal's lists and have a good gander at those. I think he's doing most of the work with arcane builds at the moment. You tend to find players kind of land into a niche where they like a type of deck and become known as that guy, and he is now the arcane Verdance guy, whether he likes it or not. So, yeah, that's my advice if you're looking for something a bit more, I guess, a bit more wizardy and a bit less arcane guardian-y, because this is an arcane guardian as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. So, yeah, if you want to ask anything, comments, Discord, whichever you prefer. Other than that, thank you for watching. Really hope it helps.